Hey everybody, so to start, we're going to use a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a block instead. And probably also have handy, if you're able, a belt with a loop in it that we'll use a little bit later. We're also going to use a couple blocks, and if you do shoulder stand, a couple blankets. So we're going to start in a supported fish pose. I'm going to show it with the bolster. You could put a block where the bolster is roughly instead. Um, so if you do shoulder stand at all, the bolster goes in the same place the blanket would. So roughly the tops of your shoulders lining up with this top edge of the bolster, and probably have a blanket handy for your head. Possibly have a blanket handy. You may or may not want to use it. Okay, so got tops of the shoulders meeting the top edge of the blanket, and the head is not on the bolster. And if you feel like it's too much for your neck, then you can use a little bit of support underneath your head. So if you were to use a block instead of the bolster, it would go a little bit lower down, right? Because it's not as big. So under the bottom tips of the shoulder blades. So the tops of the shoulders are draping toward the floor. And then if it feels okay, we're gonna have straight legs and straight arms. So it's kind of like a locust pose, flipped upside down or flipped over, but with the arms stretching forward. So this is active, even though it's supported. And so I've got palms facing up. You could have palms facing each other. Palms facing up might be nicer for the shoulders. If you're getting shoulder pinchiness, you can take arms a bit wider. Otherwise, arms straight alongside the ears and lots of energy through the legs here. Maybe closing your eyes. And we'll take several long, deep breaths here. And try bringing the breath more into the back ribs and the sides of the torso rather than trying to bring it down into the belly. So the belly can expand and contract naturally, but more emphasis on side and back body breathing. Noticing sensation, anchoring to the breath. The last few breaths here. And then bring your arms down, bend your knees so your feet are on the ground. Roll off to the side. Keep the head heavy here. Hand or hands pressed down. Rising up. We'll slide the bolster, block, whatever you were using, out from under, off of the mat. Same with the blanket. Just set them aside. And line your back once again. This time we'll plant the feet about hips width apart for a little spinal wave, starting to wake up the spine and the pelvis and the shoulder girdle some more here. So with your inhalation, arching the spine away from the floor. Press the arms down into the floor. Exhale, curling up. Peel the shoulder blades up. Follow your breath, inhaling to expand across the chest, the elbows, the belly, and then exhale, everything coming in and up. A couple more times, just like this. Now introducing a diagonal reach. When you curl up, come across the midline, elbows direct toward one hip. Inhale, really press the arm bones down, take a full breath in. And then over toward the other hip with the elbows. Try going just barely across the midline. Maybe a little further across the midline. One more round, far across the midline this time. It's important that the elbows squeeze in toward each other with the exhalation. Working symmetrically once again, so inhaling, arms root, spine pulls away from the floor. Exhale, bring knees in and elbows in toward each other. Feet can land as you find your back bend. And draw in with the exhale. A couple more times. And then one more variation here, we're doing diagonal, but knees going in. So knees go, say, toward right shoulder and elbows go toward left hip. Inhaling, land the feet. Do they land at the same time? And then exhale, knees go toward left shoulder, elbows go toward right hip. Alternating sides, a couple more times. After your second side, just stretch out the legs, let your arms drop down to the ground at your sides. And let's take a couple breaths here, resting in Shavasana. Attuning to sensation, kind of fine-tuning awareness. Okay, from here, bend your knees, roll to your side, come on up. This is where we're going to use the belt in a loop if you have it. So if you didn't get a chance to put it in a loop and you'd like to, you're gonna get a little bit more out of this asana with the belt. Of course, you'll still get benefit without it. So the belt is in a loop and we're gonna be in a pinwheel shape, what I call pinwheel. So I'll have the right leg in this Baddha Konasana shape and the left leg in hero shape, Virasana. And then we're gonna take the loop around the whole left leg, so around the hip and around the ankle. So easiest to just lift the knee up, slide it all the way back so it's at the hip crease and at the ankle. And then you can cinch it up, but how big the loop is going to be dependent on your shoulder mobility, really, more than anything. Okay, we definitely want it in a loop. It's not going to have the same effect. Similar, but not the same if you're using the belt without a loop. So you just do what you can with what you've got. And now we're going to bring the right arm back behind you to the loop. So if you can't reach the loop here, loosen it up. And if you can reach it relatively easily, or you're able to kind of cinch the belt down and keep your hand in the loop, then go for that. Notice that the palm is facing outward. Okay, so I have this tension in the belt created by this tug of my right hand. And we're going to twist to the right. I'm mirroring, so listening rather than you can watch, but it's in reverse. Hopefully that's helpful instead of more confusing. So left hand going to right thigh, right knee area, and really pulling, drawing this right shoulder back and down. You're not feeling like the belt's doing much, cinch it up some more. Might be cinched up as much as it can, just depends on you. Make it more about your breath. Let's go easy with the neck here. So nose in line with the sternum. The twist is really happening from your ribs, well, from your spine, but your ribs are attached. More so than a turning of the head. Last couple of breaths, keep drawing this right shoulder to the back plane of the body. So it's scapular retraction, the right shoulder blade moving toward the spine, and then depressing or moving down toward your waist. Gently unwind your spine. Loosen up the belt a little if you need to get it off your leg. And let's go over to the other side. Left leg in Baddha Konasana, like tree pose. Right leg in Virasana, hero's pose. Taking the belt around the whole right leg. So lift the knee up or whatever your second side is, get it around the hip and around the ankle. Yeah, cinch it up if you need to, if you think that would be a good idea for your shoulder. And then we bring the left hand back to get a grip to the inside of the loop. The palm is facing outward. And the right hand comes to the left knee. We really want to focus on this left shoulder. So left shoulder drawing back and down. Breathing here. Lengthening up through the spine with the inhalation. Gently working with the intensity of the twist with your exhalations. Easy with the neck here, so try not to be cranking it all the way. Focus more on the rotation through the spine, retracting the shoulder blade, and just bring the nose in line with the sternum. Gradually, gently releasing, unwinding, remove your belt and set it aside. We'll come into Dhanurasana with a block, maybe 2 blocks. Sitting with the block back behind you, several inches back behind you. You can adjust it once you feel the shape and what needs to work for you. So if you can have both hands on the block, great. If that doesn't work for your shoulders, use both blocks end to end on their low, wide setting. The fingers point back. I'm trying to bring the outer edges of my hands together. The palms are facing down. And then lifting up through the chest. Retract the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades move toward the spine. And down the back, depression. Keep the chest lifted and lower the chin down and slightly inward. So Jalandhara Bandha, the chin seal. Legs are wakeful here, feet are wakeful. Three-dimensional breathing. Be sure that your inhale touches the side body and the back ribs. And keep wrapping the shoulders back and down. Chest keeps lifting up. Sometimes we drop the head and then eventually the chest drops too. Chest rising up, up, up. Okay, gently raise the head. Carefully, slowly release the arms. You can set your block aside and yeah, we'll do one more seated twist here. Okay, so if you've got a bolster handy, use the bolster before, we'll sit on the bolster. And if you don't, I'd recommend sitting on a pretty stout pile of blanket or block with blanket on top. So you've got good height here. Okay, so left leg extended out in front, right foot planted. If you're sitting on a block, hopefully you have a second block to put your hand on. Okay, so we're twisting toward the bent leg here, sitting up tall from root to crown. You can get the foot to root and hug the leg in a little bit without lifting it up. And then start turning from your center. So head staying in line with the spine, turning from center. Not going to hook the elbow because it'll probably cause the spine to round. So just have left hand to the outer right knee. Turning, turning, turning through the belly. And then you can kind of walk your right hand back, maybe toward that far edge of the bolster, or just wherever you can push down. Maybe it's the block instead. But again, we're working same action here. So this right shoulder blade is moving toward the spine and down the back. Keep pressing right foot down. Left leg's got some wakefulness to it. It's not just sagging, hanging. Gently unwind your spine, come all the way back to center, and switch. Left foot is planted, right leg is straight, right toes and knee point up. And we won't do the elbow because then we'll kind of be rounding possibly, just to eliminate that possibility. Hand to the right hand to the outer left knee, turn through your center. So if you can get that to come from your center rather than I'm going to use my arm to crank it. Turning, turning, turning from your center, then placing the arm and bringing it as far back behind you as you can. So this left shoulder keeps moving back and down. If your bolster has loops on the end, that might be a good grip, similar to the pinwheel twist we did. Left foot is pressing down a bit. Gently, slowly unwind. Try not to ever pop or rush out of big stretches. Set your bolster, your blocks aside, and make your way into downward facing dog. Let's take feet wide in this down dog. So maybe as wide as your mat. Try not to press the chest down toward the ground. That's pretty crappy on the shoulders. Okay, head is heavy. And then keep feet wide and just turn toes in a little bit. See if you can get your inner thighs to move back a little bit. And then try not to let, so usually the kind of melting or pressing of the chest down goes along with the ribs dropping. So ribs drawing in toward the back, front ribs moving back, head heavy. Take some small steps to bring your feet up toward your hands. And then bend your knees and rise all the way up. And bring hands to heart center. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Bending the knees, good idea here, especially if you're rounding your spine. Take a breath in. Try to send your chest forward a little bit more. Plant your hands. Step back to plank pose. Lowering all the way down. Maybe knees come down first. Keep sending your elbows back and the chest forward as you lower. Press tops of the feet down. Press front of the pelvis down. Squeeze your glutes. Try to hollow the belly away from the floor and then lift up through the chest. So it's a lowish cobra here, maintaining all that back body engagement. Still drawing the elbows back toward the foot edge of the mat. And the hands are kind of pushing into the floor with a dragging back kind of energy. Gaze is down. Try not to lift the chin and crunch the back of the neck. From here, toes tuck under. Good. push up and back, downward facing dog. Keep lifting, lifting, lifting from the lower belly through the hips. Hips stay level, slow, intentional, right leg rising up to three-legged dog. Exhale as you shift forward to plank. Keep the hips high and tuck the knee in and place your right foot between your hands. Maybe folding the left side of your mat in before you lower your left knee down. So you have double mat here. Okay, we're gonna keep the lunge kind of short rather than sinking forward. You can keep that knee stacked with the hip. Try for that. And then we'll just come on up for a moment here. So hands can be on the thigh, rooting the knee down, squeezing left glute, isometrically dragging right foot back. Dragging it back, but it's not moving. And then lean forward and bend your left knee so the foot leaves the ground. See if you can get the foot with the same side hand. If not, the twist is okay. But if you're able to get left ankle, left foot with left hand, go for that. And then rise back up again. You might have to fidget a little bit with where the weight is on your knee for it to feel okay for your knee. So if you keep dragging this foot back into the ground, that'll help with stability. And then don't just pull the foot in, but also push it back into the hand. Glutes are active. Carefully release the foot. If you have double mat, you can release that. Step back to plank pose. Elbows draw back. You could keep the knees lifted, keeping your plank shape as you lower all the way down. Tops of the feet root. Root the front of the pelvis, hollow the belly, engage the glutes. Cobra. So hands are kind of dialing outward and dragging back. None of that is moving the hands. It's all just into the floor. Tuck toes under. From the belly, rise up and back, downward facing dog. Three-legged dog is probably one of the most rushed poses that I see all the time. So it's like, three-legged dog, ah, right? So go nice and slow, take a whole inhale. You can really monitor keeping the hips level that way. And then exhale, shift forward, keep the hips high, really hug the leg in to place the left foot between the hands. Add extra padding to right knee. If that seems like a good idea for you, you could probably kind of scoop the right knee in and then rise up. So we don't want the right knee way back behind the hip here. Pelvis is neutral. Arms are down, focusing on this left foot, dragging back. The right knee rooting down. The right glute active. And then probably have to lean forward a little bit in order to get the foot. If you can get the foot with the right hand, go for it. If you can't, get it with the left hand. Just get it how you can. And then coming back up. So you might not feel good with you might have to shift a little bit for the knee to feel safe, right? With this pressure on it. I like to be kind of like forward of the kneecap rather than directly on it. So you can experiment with that to find the place that's comfortable for you. Hugging the knee, hugging the foot in, but also pressing the foot back. So we're resisting the hugging in of the hand with the press back of the foot. Still dragging this front foot back. Right glute is still active. Gently release. Release the mat. Step the left foot back so you're in all fours. Now grab your blocks and place your blocks on the high, wide setting, just past your mat. And then lower down onto your belly. Elbows drop back as you lower. Adjust the blocks so you can have your wrists and the heel of the hand up on the blocks with straight arms. Hands shoulder width apart, maybe a little bit wider. If this is too much, you can go lower setting on the blocks. Let's have toes tucked under. Push through the heels. Really root through the front of the pelvis. Engage the glutes. And then push the hands down to lift up a little bit more. So locust variation. Lower down, hands plant beneath the shoulders, pressing back to downward facing dog. Walk the feet up toward the hands. And rise all the way up, Urdhva Hastasana, upward hands. Arms float down through this ocean of energy to Tadasana, mountain pose. Okay, coming into chair or Utkatasana. Let's stretch the arms forward, bend the knees, let the hips drift back and down. Really reach the arms forward, and then keep reaching them forward and bring them up alongside the ears if you can. Stretch actively through the arms, like you could grow your arms longer from your hips, from your outer hips. Try not to get too archy here. It was a little too archy, so front ribs toward back body. And then slowly rooting to rise, releasing your arms down. Next, we'll come into a wide-legged forward fold, supporting the head. You might need 1 or 2 blocks for this. Feet are wide. Feet are parallel. And then let's fold forward and find a way to support the head with the back of the neck long. Knees can be bent here. From here, extend your arms forward. You might need to change the setting on your block so the head is still supported. Maybe you're on tippy fingers, maybe the hands are flat. If they're flat, kind of push the floor away like you would in down dog to create this line of energy from the fingers all the way up to the pelvis, all the way up to the outer hips. And just like in down dog, let's not like sink and drop the chest down. So there's a little lifting action through the backs of the shoulders and broadening. So you can dial the hands outward. Let's do flat hands rather than tippy fingers, and hands dialing outward as if you could screw them into the ground. And then from here, lift up a little bit and walk your hands back through your legs. Fingers point back, thumbs point out, head still supported. Knees could be bent. Hands shoulder width apart or wider if you're getting pinchiness. And then bring your hands beneath your shoulders and come about halfway up. From here, you can heel toe your feet in or come all the way up and then bring the feet in. Either way, coming back to Tadasana, mountain pose. Revolve chair pose. We'll twist to the right first. I'll mirror. So stretching your right arm up, 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 really reach through the arm. And then as you bend your knees, hook your elbow to the outside of the knee and join the hands in prayer. See if you can keep your pelvis level here, your hips level. You could put a block on your sacrum. So when you twist, you're not twisting from the hips here, which might mean you're not going as far. That's okay. Okay, so we've got this connection of the arm to the leg and the hands to each other. Bottom hand could be a fist if the wrists are sensitive. And then start to twist, but from your belly, not from this kind of cranking of the arms. When you start to feel the block slide off or your hips go out of level, then rewind a little so the pelvis is neutral again. So we find the rotation through our center, then maybe add a little bit, leg into arm, arm into leg, hands into each other. Turn your gaze down. Unwind your spine, remove the block if it's there, and rise up to stand. Feet could be wider apart, hip width. Wouldn't go too wide here, hip width. And then second side, so right arm stretching up toward the ceiling. Bend the knees, hook the elbow to the outside of the left knee. Hands in prayer. If the block was helpful or interesting, place it on your sacrum so you get some extra feedback. Turning through your belly rather than your hips. Be okay with not twisting as much. Once you find your full range through your center, add a little bit at a time with the arms. Arm into leg without pushing the legs off center. Hands can press into each other a little bit. Turn your gaze down. Unwind your spine, pull the block off, forward fold, Uttanasana. Plant your hands, walk back to downward facing dog. Inhale forward to plank. Shoulders directly over the wrists. Exhale from the low belly. Lift up and back, downward facing dog. A few more times. Inhale forward to plank. The legs are active. Reach to the heels. Squeeze your glutes. Exhaling back. Push the floor away. Go a few more times on your own here. Take your time. Gaze is down, maybe like a little in front of the hand in plank. And then you can just let the head go. Gaze goes where it does in down dog. One more time, forward to plank. And then back to meet in downward facing dog. Lower the knees down to the ground. If you have a bolster, we're going to use the bolster again. If you don't, you can use a blanket. Try to make a bolster-like shape. You can go without. The bolster just gives us more feedback. It's not necessarily easier. Okay? So if you'd like to use something, blocks could work, but I would definitely put a blanket on top to take the edge off. Literally. Okay, so the bolster or whatever you're using, if you're using something, goes across your mat. And we're going to have the upper abdomen and the lower ribs on the bolster for a locust shape. We're going to use the blocks again. Well, if you're using the blocks underneath you, probably don't have 4 blocks at home. So you can decide where you want to use them. We're going to use them, if we're using them, same way we did before in locust. So bottom ribs, upper abdomen on the bolster. You would have feet flat or toes tucked under. Arms straight with the wrists, the heels of your hands on the blocks. If you're using a bolster, it'd be on highest setting with the blocks for sure. Okay. Pelvis isn't probably, like mine's not on the ground, but it's reaching down to the ground. It depends on the size of your bolster, the size and the kind of density of your bolster, but definitely squeeze your buttock muscles and send the pubic bone gently down. Press the wrist down into the block and lift up. Bring gaze down so the back of the neck is long. So if toes are tucked, you're driving through the heels. If not, pressing tops of the feet down. You could try lifting the lower belly up. See how that feels. So the belly lifting up away from the floor toward the back. Okay, release your arms. If you're working with a block, just leave it there, but we'll come off of it to sit on tucked under toes. And I'll walk your toes toward you. Some of you might need to stay with some weight on the hands. Or be kind of partially back, but still not all the way upright. Or coming upright. So really working the feet here. So I would rather see you further forward with the toes tucked under than, oh, I can sit, but my toes aren't tucked under, yeah? So we're trying to really open up plantar fascia, open up the bottoms of the feet. You've got a little rebel toe that doesn't want to be tucked under. See if you can do that. Help it. And just be here and breathe. Maybe close your eyes. Coming off of your feet. Now we'll use the bolster for bow pose, Dhanurasana, or you can repeat the same locust. So upper abdomen and lower ribs are on the bolster. Yeah, like your chest won't be because it's lifted. And then the pelvis kind of hanging off here. So you might start with the locust, getting the engagement of the legs, this lift of the chest, and then bend the knees and reach back for your feet. Press the feet back and resist with the hands. Try lifting the abdomen up away from the floor. Drawing the shoulders back, rolling them back, just like in our twists earlier. Carefully release the feet. You can press yourself up. Slide the bolster aside. We will potentially use it one more time. And then roll onto your side. So let's go onto the left side first. Just so we're all on the same page. Legs straight, arms straight. Bottom arm is a pillow. If this is uncomfortable for your neck, put a blanket between your head and your arm. And no hip hinge here. So if your feet, if you can see them like completely and everything, your legs, then bring them back a little bit. I like to use the back edge of my mat. So you could use that as a guide, the sacrum aligning with the back edge of the mat and the back of your head, back skull aligning with the back edge of the mat. Sometimes we think we're straight, but in fact we aren't. So this is helpful. Both arms straight. We'll take hold of the top wrist with the bottom hand and stretch through the legs, through the arms, through the sides. Release the wrist. The bottom arm can stay straight, or if you'd rather bend the elbow, that's okay. You could even prop up onto your hand if you prefer. Just don't let the head come forward here. For this top leg to come into Virasana or Hero's Pose. So we've done this shape a couple times now, repeating it here on our side. Draw the heel toward the sitting bone. Reach the knee away from you. Draw the heel in, but push the foot out. Be sure your knee's not winging up here. If it is, see if you can slowly bring it down. Okay, release the leg. We're gonna stay on this left side. We're gonna try to come into a bow pose on our side here. So the first thing we'll do is bring this bottom arm back behind you. And then bend your bottom leg. See if you can reach and catch your foot. And then bend the top leg, find that same shape you just had. Draw the heels in, really squeeze the glutes here. Press the feet into the hands. Try not to let the ribs pop forward like mine definitely are if I don't pay attention. So front ribs drawing back. Carefully and slowly release the feet. And then roll onto your other side. You don't have to turn like I am. You can just roll. Now you know what we're doing. You don't have to see. So lying on your right side, or whatever your second side is, and use the back edge of your mat as a guide. So the sacrum is in line with the back edge, and the back skull is in line with that back edge of your mat. Stretching through the arms, stretching through the legs. Take hold of top wrist. Tug here for little traction. Energy through the legs. Stretching through the sides, head heavy. Releasing the wrist. You can readjust here, bottom arm bending, maybe propping up on your head or onto your hand. Reaching back now for this top foot into our hero shape, Virasana. Glutes active, knee reaching away from you, heel hugging in, foot pressing out. Gently release the leg. Coming into our side, lying down Ustrasana. First thing we do is bring the bottom arm back behind you. And then bend your bottom leg and try to connect that bottom hand, bottom foot. Same thing with top hand, top foot. Reach the knees away from you. Squeeze your buttock muscles. Feet and hands pressing into each other. And then front ribs drawing toward the back body. So we're trying to bring the rib cage in line with the hips, in line with the pelvis. Hopefully your floor is not hard like mine. It's not comfortable on this earthen floor. And then when you're ready, slowly release the legs and roll onto your belly. Let's just stack the hands and rest the forehead on the hands for a moment. Okay, from here, we're coming into upward facing dog. Maybe not the way you normally do it in a yoga class, so a little bit more mobility focused. So you can come up onto all fours. Extend the legs back to come into plank. For the critical actions, the hands, we're pushing the floor away, dialing the hands outward, but I'm not doing this rounding here in plank. Okay, so there's a little softening between the shoulder blades in plank. And of course, glutes and legs are active, so the upper body doesn't have to do all the work. The abdominals are drawing in. And then from here, try to just keep your plank and untuck your toes so you're on the tops of your feet. Now to come a little bit more toward up dog, imagine you could drag your hands back toward the feet. Don't lose that engagement of your glutes and try lifting your chest a little bit more forward and up. Try not to just let the hips drop. Abdominals drawing in still toward the back. Really draw the shoulder blades down the back. And then tuck toes under and lift your hips to downward facing dog. Lower knees down to the ground. So we have one more back bend here. Camel pose or Ustrasana. With the bolster, if you've got it. We'll do a couple rounds. You might decide you don't need it or want it. Another thing you could try in your camel, Ustrasana, is a belt in the loop around the mid thighs. So maybe we'll do that on the second round. Just have it handy. It actually, for me anyway, feels really nice on my back. So it might feel good for you too. It might feel better than it normally does. So if you're using a bolster, we'll start with our hero C, Virasana, but sitting on the bolster. This is also a great way to do hero's pose if sitting on just a block doesn't do it for you. This might be a good hero's version for you. So just taking a moment here to slow the breath down, to notice what you notice. And now we'll keep the bolster where it is, but not sit on it anymore. So lifting the pelvis away from the bolster, and you can press the knees down. Definitely want to have really active glutes here with the pelvis shifting forward. Bring your hands to your sacrum. I like fingers down, elbows in, and then start to send the tailbone down and lift the chest up. From here, try not to get all big back to bendy yet, if at all. So we're just going to hinge back from the knees and bring the hands to the bolster. Fingers pointing back, thumbs pointing out. Keep rooting through the knees. Squeeze the heck out of the glutes. And then if it feels right for you, you can get more of a lift in the chest. Maybe bring the heels of your hands down to the bolster. And chin would normally stay tucked in. If your sternum is parallel to the floor, you could let your head go. See how it feels. It might feel better to keep the chin tucked in a little bit. And then carefully rising up, sitting onto the bolster once again. Notice what you notice. If you feel like everything came from the lower back, then I would, this next one, not create the arch, keep it more of a pure hinge. I'll show that version. Okay, if it was like no problem and just so wonderful for you to get your hands to the bolster, you could remove the bolster and bring your hands to your heels. So one way to go about it is to use the belt, as I mentioned, around your mid thighs. So hopefully you still have your belt in a loop if you've been using it. I'm going to step right into it. Yeah. And it's around the mid thighs. And then we want to cinch it up so that I like knees hips width apart here. I wouldn't bring them all the way together. I think it's too much. It's not going to be as balanced of a shape. So mid thighs, cinch up the belt enough so that there's some tension in the belt, and then get back into your hero shape. You can place the bolster on your calves again, or not. So we're starting either way. We're starting in this kind of upright camel prep, I would call it. Rooting the knees down. Activate the glutes. And if you've got that belt, you probably already feel the tension. You can press the legs a little outward into the block, into the belt. Okay, and then from here, you can again bring your hands to your sacrum and hinge back. So if you had back pain, then, or like a lot of sensation all in one place, I would keep more of this straight line rather than lifting the chest here. So you can bring that straight line and maybe hands stay on the back, or maybe they come to the bolster. And you can still bring the shoulders back and down, and more keep the ribs in than going for the big back arch here. Trying to slightly tucked, particularly if you're in this version. It's probably more work for the legs if you've got that belt, which might be a good thing. And then when you've had enough, come on up, come on out. If the belt is there, you can leave it there, just loosen it up so that it's no longer involved. Sitting back onto the bolster or onto your feet. And you close your eyes, what's here now? Okay, so from here, we're going to set up for shoulder stand, Sarvangasana, or bridge, Satubandha Sarvangasana. So you've got a couple blankets. Let's use them, whether you're going into bridge or shoulder stand. Creating roughly a shape like this. Some people like their blankets half fold like this the long way in shoulder stand. If you do, go for it. I just like that bigger platform for my whole upper arm personally. So if you're doing a bridge, you might want to have a block handy for supported bridge. And either way, whether you're doing shoulder stand or bridge, the blankets are a nice addition here. So tops of the shoulders are just about at the top edge of the blanket. I kind of broke a lot of stuff down today. I hope this is helpful for you. So for me, when I come into shoulder stand, I end up shifting a little bit. So I have right here like a little space between the top of the shoulder and the edge of the blanket, so that when I come up, they're a little bit more aligned. But what we're really going for is C7. This is the most protruding of your neck vertebrae at the base of the neck, the one that sticks out the most, that one on the blankets. The rest of the neck, not on the blankets. The head, not on the blankets. It's a big misconception. Okay, so once you have your placement here for bridge pose, we'll plant the feet, lift the hips, place the block underneath the sacrum. You've got that platform with the block, with the blankets, so might feel good to go a little higher. If you tend to come out of bridge just like camel and you're like, wow, lower back, then I wouldn't go higher, yeah? Because it's all going into your lower back. And you could stay here in your bridge, or you could bring your legs up to vertical for more of this shoulder stand inversion effect. If you'd like to practice shoulder stand, I like to come into plow and set my shoulders first, and then bring the legs up to Sarvangasana. So for that, we want to try to bring the hips up with control and bring the feet to the ground. And then bring the elbows in toward each other. If the elbows are flaying wide, then we're not in a good position to stand on the shoulders. So elbows tuck in. And you can even shift your pelvis a little back away from your head and walk your hands further up your back toward your head. And then bring one leg up and the other to join it. Keep rooting down through your elbows and your upper arm bones. Gaze is down. Gaze is down. Maybe at the tip of the nose, definitely not up at the feet. Some schools of yoga have relaxed legs. I like more activity here. It's a pretty active pose, for me anyway. So I energize up through the legs and add a little glute engagement here. So when you're engaged, you're lighter. When you're not engaged, you're heavier. You could have a little hip hinge here if that's better for you. We're working on getting the hips up, usually, rather than letting the weight of the hips go into the hands. So it just depends on where you are in your practice, maybe who you learned from. And what works best for you. And then coming down slowly with control. Definitely use support on the floor or your hips so you don't thump on down. If you're coming out of bridge, you can remove the block, lower your hips down. And then if you were using any kind of a blanket platform, you can just come into a mini bridge. So particularly from shoulder stand, this is a nice kind of stepping transition, scooting the blankets down so they're underneath your pelvis now, not underneath your lower back. That can drop. And we're in a mellower bridge. Maybe the arms are on the floor, up around the head, just kind of draping. You might want to just slowly and gently rock the head side to side. And then from here, you can scoot your blankets off to the side and bring your pelvis all the way down. And let's come into, we did a passive fish at the beginning of practice, so let's come into now a more active fish. It can be quite simple where you come onto the top of your head right here with the feet still planted, the arms alongside your body. Elbows are bent, the forearms are down, the hands are down, the elbows are down, and you could press your elbows down so that the head isn't taking all the weight. And then just slide the head back down to the ground. And then from here, let's just draw one knee in toward the chest with the hands and stretch the other leg out straight on the ground. Little half or ardha apanasana. Switch legs. One knee in, other leg stretching long. And then releasing the leg. Bring your arms down by your sides. Make your way into Shavasana. We did a lot of spinal extension, aka back bending. So it often really great idea to rest with a bolster under the thighs or a rolled blanket under the knees after a strong back bending practice. So if you had your bolster all this time, you can use it one more time. If it's a big bolster like this one, try to bring it right up against the thighs. If it's more of a rolled blanket or a circular bolster under the knees instead of the thighs. Making it work for you so you can rest comfortably. Coming back into the river of breath. Feel all the places where your body meets the earth. Beginning to move and stretch, gently reawakening. And as you feel ready, slowly, gradually rising up to a seat. And let's bring hands, palms together at heart center. And feel your heart lifting and expanding from the inside out. It's truly an honor and a joy to guide you with these practices. So thank you for joining me. Let's take a breath in. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste.